Oh, there we are.
Wonderful. All right, we're in. Everyone can see this, so smile when you run your on screen. So, as I said, welcome. My name's Pip. I'm the chair of General Counsel Woodcraft Votes Trustee Board. I use he, him pronouns, and I've been chair for 2.5 years now, and I've been on the trustee board for 5.5 years, which feels like it's quite a long time, isn't it? Today, as I said, the aim is to update you, to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and to keep you enthused and excited about what's going on in the future, as well as make you aware of what's happening right now. To gather any feedback, suggestions or questions that you might have and answer those, and make you aware of our ambitions for the future, and hopefully if you have anything to feed into that too, let us know. That would be great. So we welcome any questions that you have. Chip in with them if you have anything you'd like to know more information on at any point. And these are the things that we're going to go through today. So we're in the midst of introductions, and in a moment Debs will introduce herself as well. We're going to give you an update on the finances and where we're at with that. We're going to give you an update on the centres and how they're coping with coronavirus and the changes that they've had to make. We're going to give you an update on staffing. We're going to look at our projects and programmes and the way that they've changed recently, and also exciting new projects that we've got, our plans for the future, and then, as I say, answer any questions that you might have. But also, at any point, feel free to ask questions relevant to what's going on in the presentation.
Thank you, Pip. As Pip says, we really welcome questions, so you can either unmute yourself and ask them, or you can use the chat. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Debs and I'm Woodcraft Folks CEO. And between Pip and I, we will give you an overview of what's happening on a national level. And I'm grinning with myself because we have a photo that we're using later, and the star of that photo is in our participants. I wonder if he spots himself. So I'm going to start with a little financial update. So overall last year, we're still doing the end of year and audit process, but we're expecting that we will have had a deficit position across the whole organisation of 15,000. This is including the centres and the local groups, as well as core and projects. Many of our projects were delayed during coronavirus, and therefore we've carried over that funding into 2021 and are in the process of relaunching or rescheduling some of our projects. What's really striking is the difference in both our income and expenditure from a typical year. So you'll see here on the screen that our income was 51% lower than in 2019. But that was matched very closely by our expenditure, which was also much lower. And these are figures for the whole of the organisation. So I accept the fact that you recognise on a local level the lack of hall hire reduced your expenditure, but also the lack of subs for many groups reduced your income. And that is reflected at every level in this organisation. As we go into 2021, or we're already the first quarter into 2021, we're currently predicting a £30,000 deficit. This is largely because our centres are still closed to youth groups. We have been able to reopen them to family and household groups, but the level of activity is much, much lower, and it is looking very highly likely that they will be not up to their usual standard of operating for probably somewhere between a half and 3/4 of the year. The income and expenditure levels for 2021, we are still expecting to be lower than 2019, possibly by as much as a third, but higher than they have been in 2020. The audit is going to take place next month, and we will share the accounts with our groups and our districts and on our website in July, and present those to the annual general meeting in September. So that's a very quick financial overview. We have been lucky that we've attracted some new funding. We also were in receipt of a legacy, and we have started to explore a partnership with the Co-op Legal Services to support legacy giving in the future. Legacies are really a really vital support source of income for Woodcraft folk. They're unrestricted and enable us to meet challenging years like COVID, but also invest in our centres and our projects and support things like camps and other activities. Woodcraft folk has also been very fortunate to benefit from some of the tourism and leisure funding for our centres, and this week we received 16,000 for Biblins and confirmation that we'll receive another 12,000 for Lockerbrook, and applications have been submitted for Hightgate and for Cudham also. On Monday this week, so hot news, we also had confirmation that our application to BBC Children in Need was successful, and we have £30,000 to continue to do development work in one of the Falkirk wards, which is one of the most disadvantaged wards in the whole of Scotland. So that's really, really positive that our fundraising is working. We're currently awaiting the outcome of various funding applications, including one to the Julia and Hans Rousing Trust, which, if successful, will subsidise our centres and hopefully reduce the deficit we are expecting to make. So if at any point you have any questions, by all means ask, but I'm going to hand over to Pip to talk about centres.
So yeah, our centres are probably one of the hardest hit parts of our organisation by coronavirus, and we'd like to thank all the volunteers who have maintained and supported our centres over the last year when many of the centre staff have been on furlough. We've had working parties taking place at Bibbins at Lockerbrook. You can see someone very happily painting Lockerbrook there, a lovely shade of white. It looks so gleaming. I bet it looks great on the hillside. And yeah, we've just recruited a new head of centres, which is a new role that we've never had before. So we've taken this opportunity to see our centres as a unit that's going to work together, and we're really excited to take that forward now with a head of centres who's going to be working with all of them to make sure they're a fantastic place for young people to explore the outdoors. We are now opening bookings to household and family groups, which it says that Dev's going to put a link in the chat. So if you're tempted to book one of our centres for your household or bubble, that would be fantastic. And then as the various stages of the government easing of lockdown allow, we're going to open our centres firstly to bookings from residential groups. So that should be before the socially distanced groups can meet, hopefully from the next step after the 17th of May. And then we're hoping to allow residential groups after the 21st of June, which is I think the final stage of this kind of easing. As long as that all goes to plan, that's what we're hoping. And we're really hoping our centres will be able to experience the summer as they would like to. So that's something to look forward for, something we're keeping our fingers crossed for. Yeah, we were really scared, I think, a year ago about the support that we'd be able to offer to our centres and what was going to happen to them if they couldn't take bookings. But the position we're in now is something, I think if we'd known we'd be here a year ago, we'd be very, very happy about it.
A lot less sleepless nights, I think, Pip. We have managed to support our centres by using the government funding that's available and also using the furlough scheme. All of our centre staff are still experiencing furlough to some level or other, and are likely to do so until either business returns to normal or until the scheme ends in September. So we're really grateful for the cooperation of our staff in accepting those terms and conditions, because it's not ideal, but it has meant that we've been able to retain our staff team. The other news around centres is about camps. We are planning a camp for pioneers and a camp for venturers at Biblins in August, and there is a camp being planned for Elfins to take place at Park Farm towards the latter half of August. We've made this decision to plan these events because we'd love to have children and people back at our centres, but we recognise by planning them centrally, we're reducing the demand and pressure on our local volunteers who are looking to reopen and to get going again after a year of disruption. So I do hope that you can make those camps. Booking information will be going out to group leaders and district contacts at the beginning of May, but we won't be looking to confirm numbers until we get to the 14th of June, and there will still be an opportunity to add people quite late, but we have set booking deadlines very late because we understand that the situation is uncertain. But fingers crossed we'll be able to camp together and celebrate in Woodcraft folk style. The next update is about staffing, and it is with great sadness that we report the passing of Catherine McCarthy. Catherine worked at our Cudham Centre for over 12 years and sadly passed away on the 1st of April after an illness. We will be working with the volunteers at Cudham and with Catherine's family to arrange a memorial at a point when restrictions allow us to come together. For anybody who wishes to send messages to Catherine's family, we're encouraging them to send them to Crampton Street, and we are forwarding them to her partner and to her son. Sorry, I find it really upsetting. There is also good news with staffing. As Pip alluded to, we have appointed a new head of centres, and I thank Kathy, who's here in the chat, who helped with that recruitment. So thank you, Kathy. Andy will be joining us in July, so not just yet, and comes from the Field Studies Council, and will be bringing a huge wealth of experience of running centres and helping us to position every centre so that they can welcome more children and people and deliver, I suppose, more educational value, making sure that our activities are linked to our aims and principles, as well as the fact that they are financially sustainable and that we are providing a safe experience for all of our guests. On Monday, we're being joined by Irene, who is going to be joining us as the Youth Engagement Officer. This is a new post for 1 year funded by the Jack Petrie Foundation. And Irene will be supporting programme activity in London and Essex, and also supporting the London region's inclusion plans. I'm sure she'll be introducing herself when she arrives next week. As I mentioned in the funding and finance update, we will be able to extend Claire Ritchie's contract because of the BBC Children in Need funding, and Claire will be delivering some development work in Lochwinnock and in Falkirk for the next 3 years. And then the other staffing news is that we are currently recruiting. So we have active recruitment for the Cudham Centre Coordinator and for a Common Ground Camp Assistant. Those vacancies have been advertised for a few weeks, and the deadlines for both of those are next week. If anybody wants to know more information about those, you're encouraged to visit woodcraftfolk.org.uk/vacancies. That's it for me for staffing. I'm going to hand over to Pip.
So, as well as recruiting new staff, we're also in the midst of a new volunteer recruitment campaign supported by a digital partner. We're really pleased to announce that this campaign has already reached over 20,000 people. So there's 21,224 people on this slide, very specific, may have even reached more by now, or by the 11th of the 4th. And this will be running until September to try and engage as many new people to Woodcraft Folk as possible and place them in different parts of the organisation that they might be interested in volunteering in. So we've been running a series of different inductions, some generic inductions to the charity and some specific inductions to our centres or to our comms work or to things such as Dream Big at Home. We're also really pleased to announce, so I said here we've got new volunteers from Bromley, Clapham, Exeter, Falkirk, Hackney, Leeds and St Albans. We've been really pleased with the uptake of people expressing interest and then actually going on to continue that interest and kind of show it and say where they're going to be interested in volunteering with us, which is really exciting and something we are very pleased about.
the turnaround from actually responding to the campaign, attending induction events, and actually stepping forward to volunteer is incredibly high. So we're really, really pleased with the results so far. And we've also had a number of inquiries to set up new groups in new communities, which is very, very positive with our ambition to increase and widen participation.
Can I just ask about the volunteers?
Yeah.
Is the main focus to recruit them for supporting groups?
Well, yes and no. I think we would accept volunteers anywhere in the organisation. So we have launched 4 roles at the moment, which includes organising events, supporting our centres, doing online activity through Dream Big at Home, as well as our groups. The response back we're getting from the people who are signing up so far is that they want to do direct face-to-face work with children and young people, which after the year we've had is not surprising. We are currently in what the marketing people call the awareness stage of the campaign, and the conversion stage of the campaign doesn't start for another 10 days. And when we go through the conversion stage, we will be targeting the adverts by postcode, linked to the groups. So probably 8 weeks ago, each district was emailed and asked if they were looking for volunteers, and we now have a list of postcodes that we wish to target. If there are others who think that they may not have filled in that form and that they want to, they're encouraged to email me and I will add them to that list. But the next 2 months of the campaign is about conversion against postcode. So yes, to support local groups. And then after that, we will focus more around our centres and event management, and particularly how we can support the ongoing development of Common Ground. Does that answer? Cool. Talking of volunteers, this is an extra slide. Sorry, Pip, I squeezed in. That we have a number of training dates as well for our volunteers. As we all reopen and rebuild, we're just trying to make sure that everybody gets the support and the information that they need. So on Sunday, there's a members meetup meeting, followed by a session about saving the planet, which is being led by one of our venturers from Scotland after being engaged in a COP26 project up there. We've also got a Treasurer's Masterclass. So for all you Treasurer people in the room, you're welcome to join us on the 28th of April. Then after that, there'll be a staying safe session for local safeguarding leads and health and safety leads, one for membership secretaries, and finally the date in the diary is the Have a Good Weekend on the 25th of May, which will explore the latest guidance we've been given about how we organise residentials in a COVID safe way and what we expect the restrictions to be for both step 3 and step 4 as we go forward. All of Woodcraft Folk events are on our website on the calendar, so do check them out. Sorry, Pip. I'm going to send back to you.
Right. We're also really excited by the fact that we have 9 placements with the European Solidarity Corps, so the ESC funded full-time placements that are going to support us in people coming across from Europe to work in the organisation over the next 17 months in a whole host of different areas. So they'll be supporting, as it says on here, our centres work, some of our comms work. They'll also be supporting in the work up to Common Ground. So we've already had Barbara's arrived. Is it this week? Was it last week? From
who's here in the meeting?
In the meeting. Oh, welcome, Barbara.
Barbara, show yourself and say hello.
I'm sorry, my internet connection today is so bad. I wasn't able to connect to any of the meetings almost. So I'm sorry. But I would like to say hi to everyone. And it's really nice to be here and a part of the Woodcraft Hall.
So Barbara is currently quarantining in Cudham and has been spending her week on Zoom calls, but also admiring the squirrels and the deer that have been populating Cudham since the children moved out. Barbara comes out of quarantine next week, which will be great, and it will be lovely to see her at events as we begin to reopen and do more activities. I'm really pleased you're able to join us, Barbara.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us. And we've also, so it's not just Barbara is joining us, we've got Ivan and Federica who are going to be joining us, and then we've got others who will be coming along later. I don't know if we already recruited them or we're in the process of deciding.
We're in the process. So today we finalised the contract for the National Camps volunteer and the Common Ground volunteer, which means we can then open recruitment for those positions. And hopefully by Monday we would have finished the contracting for the other posts and look to have them here as soon as possible.
If you know anyone who might be interested in hosting some of our ESC volunteers or being a mentor for different areas of our work for them, get in touch. We need places for people to live, and it's really good to have support if you can offer it, guiding people through work at our centres or with different areas of what we do.
And if you can make that offer to esc@woodcraft.org.uk, that would be fantastic. Thank you. So as well as ESC projects, we've got a number of new projects that have been launched in the last month or so. We launched Kids Got Rights on the 1st of April, which is an international project being coordinated by the International Falcon Movement. We are one of 9 member organisations who are working with 9 to 13-year-olds to review and assess their rights, how they feel that they access them, to do a little bit of awareness raising and some lobbying, particularly in places where they feel that their rights are not being honoured. We are delivering that in partnership with the Children's Rights Alliance England. It's not too late to get involved, so if you're a pioneer leader and you are interested in being involved, please contact Lauren. We're also continuing to do more partnership work with the Co-op Academy Trust, and in March we launched the Green Influencers Scheme, which is supporting 10 to 14-year-olds to deliver green social action. And this summer we will be running again a summer holiday scheme providing food and addressing holiday hunger with children and people in Leeds who attend the Co-op Academy. And I don't know if anybody in the room has welcomed one of our engineers as part of the Ingenious project to their group, but we still have 50 engineers who we originally recruited to deliver workshops at music festivals and Common Ground in 2020, who have spent the last year delivering Zoom sessions to schools and woodcraft folk groups instead. The project was called Kids Field, and they've not been anywhere near a field, but they have been delivering information about engineering solutions to the climate emergency, and they're still willing to. So if you want to visit your group, please get in contact with Lauren. Other quick summary of projects, I've mentioned Ingenious. We have young members who have joined the Youth Leadership Collective with the British Youth Council, who are exploring how we train young people to be leaders, how we support them, and how we can create a UK network of young activists who want to bring about positive change. And then the other new projects that we are launching, which we'll be launching this summer, is an I Will funded bereavement project, which we're delivering in partnership with the Kite Trust. At the last Venture Camp, venturers mentioned that they were looking for more support, particularly about how they address suicide awareness and how they support each other when they experience a bereavement of their peers. And this project is a result of that request. And it will be running for 2 years, delivering sessions at the Venture Camp this summer, as well as sessions and material for group leaders to deliver during the 2021-2022 academic year, and finally delivering some sessions at Common Ground in 2022. And then the last project on this list is the All Change project, which we launched on the 12th of March last year and then very quickly closed again. And we are relaunching that. We are working with the Association for Science Education to provide training to teachers and youth workers in climate science so that they can support their pupils to understand what the climate emergency is all about and what opportunities there are to tackle climate change. So there's lots going on, which is really, really exciting. We're also involved in a number of international projects. So I've mentioned Kids Got Rights, but we're also doing the Journey of Youth Leadership and Building Up. Both of these projects are focused on how do we support young people to take on leadership roles and how do we develop youth work skills in young people, making them support that transition from participant to leader. These projects are currently being delivered online, but we do hope that over the 2 years that they're running, the young people will get an opportunity to meet each other. Both of these projects will also be delivering sessions at Common Ground in 2022. The Get to Act Together is a project run by SBLAC, our international members in Catalonia, which we are hoping to send delegates to a seminar this summer, although it may be delayed because of COVID restrictions. We'll watch this space. And finally, the last project we're engaged in is looking at women in the green economy, and is targeted at women who are under the age of 30 who have an interest in the green economy, and exploring and challenging the barriers that women face in accessing that sector. If any of you are interested in any of those projects, by all means do look at the news stories on our website or contact me for further information, because there are spaces and vacancies for all of those projects at the moment.
So now looking forward to the future, in February 2020, so before the first lockdown, General Council decided a set of 11 changes that we wanted to make to reach our aim of being increasing and widening participation in woodcraft folk and reaching to more communities as an organisation. We remain committed to that, and we actually think that a lot of the changes that we decided were what we wanted to achieve there are still very appropriate now, despite the way things have been for the last year. We want to support better delivery, we want to support better governance, and we want to be better known and understood as an organisation and reach out to more people. So some things we've got happening, we've got national camps happening this summer. As Debs has already mentioned, we've got V Camp and a Pioneer Camp happening at Biblins, which is really exciting. We're really glad that they're able to go ahead, and obviously we're looking forward to Common Ground 2, which is now happening in 2022. We're going to continue to deliver Dream Bigger Home. We think that's something that's here to stay, and a fantastic way of engaging young people who aren't able to go to groups or districts for whatever reason. And we hope to reach new audiences and engage young people through either continuously through that or on one-off events which are delivered online. We're looking at the potential of a subscription model for children and young people. We're going to start researching how that could work and find a way to develop that and launch it to, again, offer something more for young people and to include more people in what we do, and often engage young people online as well in the same way that we do regularly with our groups and districts. We're looking to increase the number of targeted projects and social and action initiatives that we have. You'll have already heard that we've been successful in the funding that we've gained in Scotland, which we're really happy about, and we're seeking similar bits of funding elsewhere to either extend staff that we have working in places across the country, or to engage new communities in woodcraft folks' work. We are looking to increase the training that we offer for volunteers, as well as you've already heard, recruiting new volunteers, and having a focus on getting young people volunteering with our groups and districts and becoming leaders, either young people who've never been in our organisation, or managing that transition from young people who've been as beneficiaries within woodcraft folk to becoming leaders in groups and districts or online. I've already mentioned we've got Common Ground, which is really exciting.
We keep mentioning it a lot because we're really quite excited, aren't we?
Yeah, we are excited, and we were also really glad that we chose to postpone it 2 years. We're firstly glad about that decision, and now it feels like it's almost on the horizon again. We're getting to that second wave of excitement. And the other thing that we're looking at is our being better known and understood as an organisation. So looking at our marketing, our communications, how we effectively communicate what we do as an organisation and attract as many children and young people to our activities as possible, as well as new volunteers.
So just to sort of add a little bit about the targeted projects, there are 2 initiatives that we are currently exploring. Some of you might be aware of the holiday activities and food projects that are being launched across schools across the whole of the UK. We are doing some partnership work with the Co-op Group, who are about to launch a good food cookery school with Marcus Rashford. Shh, it doesn't get launched until the 25th of April. So we're looking about how we can deliver woodcraft folk activities as part of summer holiday clubs with a focus on healthy eating, as well as looking at food miles, seasonal food, and all of these other fair trade food and messages that we deliver in our groups. One of these will definitely go ahead in Leeds, and it looks highly likely that we're also going to be delivering one in Hammersmith, and we're exploring whether or not there's demand and capacity to deliver clubs in other parts of the country. So if any of you are involved in schools and are particularly interested in exploring this as an option for your pupils, please do get in touch. The other project we're also working with the London Assembly is looking at a life skills project and how we particularly support year sixes as they make their transition into secondary school, to give them confidence in having positive relationships with their peers. And we are running a pilot with a number of schools in London and in Canterbury. I'm not quite sure how Canterbury's fitted in because it's a London Association thing, but never mind. And we will be running these activities this summer and in the autumn term to pilot the impact that they have on 10 and 11-year-olds. So it's really exciting places to share woodcraft folks' aims and principles with more children and people. And we are particularly targeting boroughs with high levels of deprivation, so that we can also increase and widen participation, as we are aiming to do as part of our strategic plan. We're all really excited as we sort of reopen and try and relaunch and make sure that we really do reach as many children and people and communities as we possibly can. But I'd really welcome any of your questions, and I can see that there's a message in the chat. What does the chat say? You can. I'll send you more information about the food project, Kathy. Just for Leicestershire, I'll send it to you.
Well, I work in a trust, and we've got 12 schools at the moment, rising to 13 schools soon. So I was interested in how it worked with the Co-op Academies Trust, and you know, on a trust level.
With the Co-op Academy, we're doing that work outside of the holiday activities and food project, because it's something that we started prior to COVID. As a trust, they made a decision that they wanted to address holiday hunger, particularly in Leeds, because they were seeing the negative impact it was having on their pupils. And in Leeds, it is a relationship between us, the group, and the group have also engaged Kellogg's as a sponsor, providing food that we're distributing to children and people. There, we're delivering 4 weeks of activity, 5 days a week, targeting year 7s, 8s and 9s. And we're running a whole host of fun and games, but also training sessions, teaching cookery skills, and ending each week with a community picnic, hopefully, if social distancing allows, cooked and prepared by the young people for their wider family and community. So there's sort of encouraging them and embedding in them that idea of social action and giving back and volunteering, which is positive.
So who's delivering the holiday activities? Is it paid staff?
We have recruited a mixture of paid staff and freelancers to deliver that work in Leeds. The work that we're doing with the Holiday Activities Fund in Hammersmith, again, we will be recruiting individuals to deliver that. That's part of a government funded scheme which is being rolled out across the country. So each local authority has resources available to fund that activity. Some of them are giving it to schools directly, others are largely giving it to voluntary organisations to work in collaboration with schools to meet the needs of their pupils. And that's everything from football clubs to food clubs, but the idea is that there is an element of addressing food poverty. But I will send you more details, Kathy.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, we're concerned in our trust about poverty in general amongst our families, and we're just setting up a separate charity so that we have more flexibility with that to actually support families in need.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll share you some information. And yes, Nikki was just asking, the slides will be attached to the news story with the recording, which I will probably do on Monday morning rather than tonight. Are there any other questions? Whilst you're thinking of questions, I just want to reflect a little bit. Pip is really right when he said that a year ago we were all really concerned about Woodcraft Folk. Our groups had been closed, our centres were closed, the future looked quite frightening. But as a trustee board and staff and volunteers, we have worked to try and make sure that our expenditure balances our income. We have been doing more fundraising, both in terms of individual donors and grant funding and statutory funding, to make sure that we have the resources to meet the need. As an organisation, when we did the staffing restructure, focusing our teams to look at how do we support our centres as a collaborative body rather than as individual units, and looking at how we support our members and our programmes through the membership and programmes team, I think has really focused the avenues in which we communicate to our volunteers and to our groups. And I hope as volunteers and supporters, you can see that there is a step increase in training and information that's coming out, and that we're beginning to use new tools to communicate with you. I know you couldn't help but notice the new Constant Connect emails that we're sending out. We're trying to make sure we don't send out too many, and we would welcome your feedback always if there are suggestions how we can communicate more effectively with our membership. And as Pip said, we started doing these supporter updates because the world felt such a mess and that we needed to communicate and tell you, and now we've been committing to do them every quarter, and we think they're really an effective way to get some key messages out to the members, and also for Pip and I to hear from you. But does anybody have any other questions?
I was just going to make a comment, Debs, that my concern is that we've lost people along the way. Some of our groups haven't been meeting on a regular basis. We did try in the autumn term to start having a monthly district event. We managed one, but then we went into lockdown 3. So, you know, we're going to have to do some work to reconnect with families and to build up our groups again. And I think that there is a desire there amongst lots of people, but some of them might have lost a bit of momentum.
I think you're right, and that one of the reasons we decided to launch the volunteer recruitment campaign was to increase that capacity and that effort. And what we have seen nationally over the last month is an increase in inquiries from individuals wanting to send their children to Woodcraft Folk, but we've also seen an increase in the number of inquiries about new groups. We've received more inquiries about new groups in the last month than we probably have done in the last 3 years, which is really, really positive. And now we need to make sure that we turn those inquiries into actually building relationships and actually turning those interests into real groups where children and people can engage. But we are looking to make our systems as simple as possible so that we don't add a burden to our volunteers. But we, as a staff team, really want people to come and ask for help when they need it, because we're here to support you.
Oh, I'll make another comment then, since it's all gone quiet. I just
wanted
to
reading the chat. Thank you, Nikki.
I was just going to say I'm really excited about the work around the centre, the head of centres. Yeah, I was on the interview panel, but the potential for developing the centres and we were already working on sort of common health and safety procedures and risk assessments and things like that, but and risk registers. But I think this could be the step change that will really develop the work at the centres.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm really pleased about the camps this summer. We're trying to think about what we can do in our own district, but it's really nice to have the well, now 3, so we know there's something there, but that's really, really enthusing us.
I mean, we felt that we really should last September, and then it came to Christmas and we went into lockdown again, and we're like, oh no, this sounds really terrible. And in January, the organising team were going, I don't think this is going to happen, and now we're going, actually it will happen. We've got to plan for it to happen. We've been fortunate also to get an ESE placement to help make them happen, and we recognise that there may be restrictions still in place, and that we can work around those. And all we can do is hope that we get to step 3 before then, ideally step 4, and we can meet and camp and celebrate after a year of not being under canvas.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody, we've been talking about it on the basis that it may or may not happen, and we don't know what format it's going to be. And the general consensus is actually we don't care. Is there something?
The feedback I've had from venturers is that if they have to socially distance, they don't want to come. But so far, we've met the step changes on the target date, and there's quite a lot of slippage if the step 4 doesn't happen on the 21st of June before we start camping in August. So I'm keeping everything crossed. Yeah. And the team are looking and thinking about how do we manage clans and food and washing and bathrooms? Do we need to hire in extras? And we've got so many contingency plans. We're just waiting for clarity and for hopefully the restrictions to be lifted, and then we can all just breathe and enjoy.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's also, I mean, at the moment, I know that Lockabrook is trying to have groups on site after the 17th of May, and we're just waiting for the guidance from both the Department for Education and the Department for Culture, Media and Sport about what a socially distanced residential might look like, and whether or not that's different for schools to youth organisations, because currently our guidance is slightly different depending which sector you're in. And unfortunately, we haven't yet got that guidance, and we're not expecting it for at least another week, maybe 2. So we're still working in that sort of uncertainty of trying to see, well, okay, maybe we can have some people camping and some people inside, and we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'd be really interested to hear. We're not too far from Cudham, and we're desperate to do something. I keep getting lots of requests about it from people in the district. So, yeah, but we're waiting to find out what's possible.
For now, you could go for the day and do some activities, and then hopefully the information that we've had from the National Youth Agency is that camping will be permitted from the 17th of May, but we would have to be increasing our cleaning of bathrooms, the fact that we would not be able to use clans, and that we would have to manage very carefully the sharing of canvas, and looking at how we manage that in a bubble safe way. It may be that the guidance turns out and says 1 household, 1 tent, but it may not say that, so we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Okay.
And as soon as we have it, you know that we'll email you all.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can we all have what Becky's drinking? That looks really nice.
It does look lovely.
It took me a while to realise it was a photograph. I was just still selecting the note.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the here and now. That was a holiday. Those dim and distant memories.
Well, this summer you can come around a campfire instead. So one last plug. If you as a family are looking for somewhere to escape, you know that we have beautiful properties at Woodcraft Oak. You can go and stay at the cottage at Lockabrook, which Ian, amongst others, painted, not always in that blue sky as that photo suggested, but also I hear in snow. We are also renting out the bungalow at Cudham, and family and household camping is permitted at Biblins. And if you wish, you can also rent Highgate, either inside or outside as family and household, and that is currently happening right now. And as the sun is shining and there's blue sky, I encourage you all to escape and get a little bit of a flavour of Woodcraft folk, even if it's in your family and household bubbles. If there aren't any other questions, Pip and I will say thank you very much, and we will say good night.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming along.